Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3, episode 20. Following our latest election, United Party has totally split up, and now we have zero legitimacy, so it's time we have to reform. But we are also in the middle of trying to pass elected bureaucrats, so the key to the government going forward is having the intelligentsia definitely in place, possibly the bourgeoisie in place as well, but as a marginalized group, I don't think we can bring them in right now, and keeping the landowners out. So as we go to reform, we've got to keep the landowners out. Okay, they already are, and we want to make sure we keep the intelligentsia in. And then we've got just too many groups in place. Trade unions will stay in as well. Shia Ulema, probably the most natural one to get out, as we pick up 36% legitimacy just from dropping them. But we still seemingly have one too many groups. I'm guessing the industrialists would be better to keep for long-term goals, but the rural folk have more clout. But we still raise the 46 if we take them out. But I'm guessing if we did the other way around, if we took out the industrialists, sure enough, even better. I want to keep the rural folk around. You know what? Let's do the smart thing. It's only 6% difference. So we're going to keep the industrialists in and the intelligentsia, because that is the path forward to passing more laws in the direction we want to go. The rural folk will not help with that. They're not even happy anyway. They're not going to provide us any bonuses. So yeah, things have slowed down surely, but only 2 months till that next checkpoint. Still a chance to stall, still a chance to debate, actually better than 50%. That part's all not looking so good. Following what has just happened, the landowners continue to be an obstacle in our way. But we have fixed our balance that had suddenly gone quite negative, and we suddenly are way behind on bureaucracy. We'll fix that soon, because the paper, we were expanding paper so that we could take our government administrations and convert those. I don't think that went well. The Shah has intervened in the political process. Okay. Interest group approval drops by 3 for 2 groups, including the intelligentsia, but we're doing something that's going to help them anyway. And yeah, 53%. That was unexpected. It pulled 20% away from debate and put it all towards success. We have a better than 50% chance of passing it this time. And now that we have the government administration, the paper. It's not a ton in excess, but some of those were just finished. All right, still showing a big negative to make this change in terms of cost. Let's make one step first and see how that goes. Filing cabinets. It's going to add a ton of bureaucracy and taxation capacity, which is really important for those couple of states that aren't fully on top of it. And you could see that it only caused a decrease of about 3,000. We have plenty of bureaucracy available, and I think we did have one state in need of incorporation. Now we can do that. So that is now on the way. Oh boy. Here come the landowners again. Landowners getting radicalized once again. Would not be surprised if somewhere in the near future we are facing a second civil war from the landowners. Just a quick analysis of where we're at when it comes to that standard of living, and how it's still so low. It really comes down to 2 groups and sort of one political group. The rural folk contain both the peasants and the laborers, and that is 15 million out of our almost 19 million people in the country. So the laborers definitely doing better than the peasants, at 13 being their average. But then, the peasants, which make up a larger group, are struggling. They're quite low. So it is the poor folk that are really, really dragging down the standard of living. Now, of course, that's normal. That's totally normal to have your poorest people have the least access two things, but it's clear that it's just basic needs. It's basic needs that we need to bring up. It's that lower strata, which actually is doing quite well. And to be honest, looking at each of the three groups, the lower strata, only 10% are below that minimum expectation, but the middle strata is 37% are below, and the upper strata is at 11%. So it's the middle strata that is struggling the most based on expectation of where they could or should be. So that's another short-term thing to address, and actually could probably be addressed quite a bit easier than 15 million people's needs. We could address the needs of 400,000. I've really not done enough importing goods that we need, so I think this is a good way to address that middle strata and their needs. So I've just taken on a couple luxury clothes imports, going after luxury furniture now, and seeing who really has it, who can offer us what it is that we need, such as the Russian market. Bureaucracy cost is quite low to do this. Basic grocery needs haven't been met. It looks like nobody has good productivity when it comes to that. A little bit more of an expensive one for us to get tobacco from the British market. The amount is 10 that we'd be bringing in. The trade revenue is good. It's going to lower the cost of tobacco here locally. 15 convoys, 15 bureaucracy. Okay. I'm finally starting to learn a bit more about how the trade market works, and it looks like construction. It's time to address other needs in the market. Clothing still number one. Furniture's finally up to par, so is food. Tools still a major need. So I've queued up 7 tooling workshops and much more in textile mills to address those 2 major needs that we have. Those are the 2 areas that are really hurting us, holding us back. So trying to address that, of course, with much better construction, that should do it. Now that we've hit 50% on the landowners' radicalism, it is opening the pathway to revolution. It's going to take 10 weeks, and they've got nothing. This is going to be another easy win with just 16 armies to their name. Yeah, we'll gladly take on the landowners once again, though I'm sure it's going to come with a cost. That radicalism is hovering right at that 50, and it's minus plus 0. So the revolution is not going anywhere for the time being. In the meantime, our next checkpoint is just a couple days away, and it has not passed, even though we had a better than 50% chance, and it looks like we had a really negative outcome just based on the title here. Oh, there you go. I don't mind them being down to nothing. Take that. How did that not push us to 73, though, if that was a plus 20%? Massive event here. Dangerous equipment, industrial safety slowdowns, 50% manufacturing industries throughput decrease. Landowners hating us, no problem there, but the industrialists also hating us. And the other one is massive mortality rates change, plus the trade unions hating us as well. So, ouch on the let's deal with it, but I don't know, we're not being left with much of a choice here. Our last tick was a simple advance one, so we're up to 42% chance of success now. Still not great odds. I mean, it's still 50% of either debate or stall happening. Those landowners who highly reject it are somehow still standing very much in our way, but the revolution part has itself stalled out, so we're not really getting anywhere when it comes to that particular need. We would love to crush them and get them out of this topic, or see the topic end so that we don't have to deal with them. But either way, it's just holding up the show. Meanwhile, we've pushed ourselves back into a positive balance. That population is growing. It's gone from 18.9 to 19.4 over the last few years, and the standard of living is climbing. It's going to take the legitimacy boost. That's going to get us much quicker checkpoints. Yeah, we went to less than 3 months to get that. As clothing factories are coming along. I think that is the main thing that's raising that standard of living right now is access to, as it's clear, that's the greatest need that's just not being met. GDP continues to grow up to 56. Literacy rates have not been climbing much. I mean, we've pretty much stalled out at the 45% that we're at. We have, what, 3 levels of university, and that's it. And that's only so much access for 19 million people. Another checkpoint coming, and it passed. So we have elected bureaucrats now. It's no longer hereditary. It's not being passed down. It's not your family in there. It's going to radicalize the landowners. We already knew that, and maybe we still get the revolution, though the radicalism side of it, for the moment, is fading away just a little bit. Meanwhile, we did just move up a spot in the rankings from 13th to 12th. We're still unrecognized, and I'm not quite sure how to get us recognized, but I do know that we've got to be a bit stronger than we are to even bother with anything along those lines. I'm pretty happy with where we're at in that overall rank system right now, and that balance is looking better and better by the day. That revolution is fading by the day. It's down to 41%. It looks like it's going to go away, and that political movement group, has faded. I would expect this is now going to drop off even faster. About the same rate. They'd be down to just FARS. They don't have much support. And there you go, it's gone. Kiva's ready for a full alliance. I still haven't fully given up hope on the tributary part, as we are ultimately getting stronger. So it is a step in that direction, but we now have an alliance with Kiva. How far away are we from tributary? Yeah, it's still 55. The ideological differences hurts, because I think it would have been a +10 instead. Now it's a -10. But even then, we'd still be a -35. And we've had our next election. The Agrarian Party, take 40%, the Moderate Socialist Party are still around, and those are not the groups we want in charge, and that's 78%. And I believe that is the peasants actually getting involved. They have that huge majority. So where does that put us now? 28% legitimacy. Yeah, there's that Agrarian Party, the petite bourgeoisie joining the rural folk. I don't know if we can get anything done right now, especially with very low legitimacy. These groups are not very happy. Landowners, of course, hate us, and that's the other group that got the majority of the votes. So fear, apparently, is a useful tool to get people to vote for you. All right, with this reform, I think what we're going to aim for is a huge uptick in the economy. We're going to switch from land-based taxation to per capita taxation, which is going to have an increase of 61,000. Right now our balance is 42,000, so it would make it over 100,000, which means we could turn up the construction another level. We could invest into certain areas quite freely, and see the economy go, more rapid here in the last 20 years. To get it, well, 56% are in support. We want to get the rural folk and the petite bourgeoisie into the government, and we need to get the trade unions and landowners out. We can get our legitimacy all the way back up to 77% just by having the 3 main groups that want to get it passed: the industrialists, the rural folk, the petite bourgeoisie, and everybody else out, including the intelligentsia. But this is one of those key things. When a group is out, they gather more interest. When they're in, they gather more opposition. So this is a good way to actually strengthen the intelligentsia and pass something in the meantime. It's not going to start with the same backing, but would ultimately be stronger, better, and still fairly easy to accomplish. The per capita one, I think we could pass pretty quick, and 61,000 is nice, but we could get proportional taxation and get nearly 100,000, more than 30,000 on top of what we'd get out of the per capita taxation. So why not? It's the same groups. We've already made the change. The landowners are the only ones, and that's the other thing. Fewer groups oppose it, and it passed on the very first go. Just under 30%. It was about 29% chance of success. That is going to make a massive difference. You know, the instant show is that we have some money. We cannot upgrade the construction as is, though. So we would have to do it through increasing. And the reason for that is changing the goods would include explosives, which we don't have production of. So we're going to have to keep that level as is for now, the method, and then just expand that industry. And the landowners are back. They are trying to start a revolution once again, but again it would be very underpowered. So I'd be happy to crush that very rapidly. Trade agreement with Great Britain. Okay, sure. It's weird to see the intelligentsia want cultural exclusion. With a balance over 100,000, we're going to turn down the taxes for now and decrease radicalism based on standard of living by 10%, which is going to help because it's still a problem, though we did just reach 13 finally. So we have hit 13 finally. It's time to use some of our excess bureaucracy. We're going to turn up law enforcement first. Education might be a good one to turn up as well, so we'll turn that up. That'll be easy to cover off because we have another level we can turn up the government administrations on. With a handful of new construction sectors, we've been able to bring up our construction level to an 81, so things are happening quite rapidly. But also as we are turning up those two institutions, bureaucracy has now dropped to below 0, which means we're going to start experiencing waste. Therefore, it is time to hop over in government administration and switch, not to the 3rd level. That would be a lot. Yeah, more paper. Standardized filing system. Let's go ahead and get on with it. Big increase. There you go. And that takes care of that. And of course, it will create a bit of an issue with paper. We do have a shortage. So, paper mills. One thing is we could start consuming sulfur, which I actually do have sulfur. Dye and sulfur. Paper bleaching. Sure. Let's go for that. And we only have 5 of those to begin with. Let's go ahead and add in a little bit more as well. Eastern Afghanistan, by the way, is 6 years through that process to get incorporated. Turmoil still at 31%. That's a pretty big population there. Radicals might have now hit 3 million, but the population has now exceeded 20 million. Standard of living has also exceeded 13. And our GDP has exceeded 60 million. So a lot of good things have happened here in the last little bit. And I'm definitely finding that balance of, you know, increase, turn things up, which causes shortfalls elsewhere, and then how to cover those off. And yeah, it's nice to see that we're not drowning in a larger country here. And I feel like we could take on a powerhouse in the future, or more realistically, someone that's kind of starting where Persia is maybe finishing this playthrough. It's taken a few years, but the landowners are finally getting over the switch in taxation, and their radicalism rate is falling off. The revolution it's going away, bit by bit. We've had this huge shortage of services forever, and I thought it was just an organic thing. Turns out that the urban center takes care of that. So switching your urban centers up, hello services, where have you been? We don't need to go all the way up though, I don't think. We can, well, it's glass and steel either way. Okay, let's do it. Glass and steel. We're going to have to address glass and steel, but there is our services market being taken care of. We're going to see some big changes coming in the economy here shortly. And we just had our latest election with the Society for Progress, I believe being the one that had the largest pool of the vote. So we are going to need to reform the government yet again. Legitimacy is down to 12% right now. The intelligentsia wants to join the Society for Progress, though, so that would be good. The armed forces would like to join them. So we are going to need to reform the government, which means we'll be looking potentially at what our next law is that we could potentially get passed. And And that's the big thing I'm noticing now that we have switched to having elected officials and having elections, that this periodic point where we have a change in the government and the vote and gives you an opportunity to reform and get things passed. And we've been able to do that relatively well for a while here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where that has been going of late. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. We're at 1919, so we are very much getting close to the end here. But we've got a ways to go yet, and a lot more has been happening in a shorter period of time of late. But then, of course, we do have less and less that we can kind of do. It's not a good point in time for us to be very expansionist, as you know, you're stepping on the toes of the recognized powers. I did figure out how to get yourself recognized. It takes a war against them to force recognition. We're not strong enough for that, so we would really need to drastically increase the strength of our military, and I'm not sure this is that playthrough, right? We've grown, but staying unrecognized is probably just fine with me at this stage. We could try to grow the military and see where that puts us. It could put us in a position to expand yet further, but right now I'm more interested in growing the economy, passing laws, and raising the standard of living than trying to become recognized and become a true world power. I like being a second tier or third tier power just fine. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.